I honestly think Unnamed Memory might be the biggest surprise of the season because while yes, it was shocking how good the first episode was, I think most of us who watched episode 1 we thought we had a good idea of where the show was going to go. It'd be this like building romance between these two. Year contract, she's going to try to break this curse and ultimately he's trying to get her to marry him. And episode 2 comes in thinking, you're probably going to have some political stuff here and there. And it becomes arguably one of the best produced shows of the season. Like, even before she popped off against that beast, the animation was incredible. Even the sparring sessions and everything. But it's the fact that this might actually legitimately become one of the most exciting shows of the season. We have a witch who might go off and go on these crazy-ass adventures. Our king-to-be might go off on these crazy-ass adventures. And surprisingly, it's actually not as slow-paced of a show as I expected. Like, I actually thought this was going to be very similar to a Spice and Wolf in the way that, like, it'd be more on the economics, the political side of the world. And while it's definitely going to be relevant, given the status of one of our characters, it's actually going to be more similar to, like, a fantasy anime in a lot of ways in terms of how they're going to implement, like, big spectacles, but not have it feel like it's just cheap, mindless action. One of the biggest, if not the biggest surprises of the season for me, because I walked in with low expectations, walked out with high expectations of a slow burn romance in episode 1, and for the third time now, I'm walking out with completely different expectations than both times before. I have no idea where we go from here. Usually with 2 episodes, I have a pretty good idea of the formula a show's gonna take. Hell if I know, but I'm here for it. Full live reaction over on my Patreon. If you want to see my full uncut thoughts to this or any of the episodes, it's gonna be over there if you're interested. Very, very cool thing they did with the magic at the end. So our girl gets skewered. Like, she ripped Bozo. Like, that's what I thought was going to happen. And I was like, oh, she'll patch herself up. And I'm like, oh, that's a nasty wound. Very interesting what they did. I think a lot of people are probably going to say, oh, the only thing that changed about her was her hair. So ultimately, she's lived a long ass time. She outlives everyone. But the healing that she did actually aged her body up. So the thing about it was everything about her rapidly increased, including her hair. Like, her hair is now like 12 feet long. And while yes, you can just cut that, it's not like that's irreversible. What is she actually has aged physically. And I think the most obvious thing you can tell is that, well, her chest size does seem bigger, yes. I also imagine she's taller, because up to this point, she seems to be about 2 feet shorter than Oscar, and I imagine she also did rise up with her height as well. And it's interesting because what you could interestingly do with this is, in theory, if she found someone that she wanted to spend her life with, could she actually kill herself in the way of letting herself age and reaching a deathbed similar to him? Like, will she go the route? Will she fall so madly in love with this guy that she will allow herself to age? Like, that could be a possibility. I think that'd be actually really sweet, because what we get in this episode is very clear that she feels very alone. Sure, she has her little spirit friend who's around her, but, like, the idea that when they're initially going off, we get this, like, black and white kind of grayscale vibe of her looking at characters who are long but dead, probably from 60, 80 years ago, and how she says, like, she's always left alone. So this can be someone that she feels like she doesn't want to leave, or lose. Like, is she gonna age up, or is there just gonna be situations where stuff like a giant beast rips her stomach apart? Either way, very interesting concept of magic and the twist of a witch. But the biggest thing about this that was so different, it wasn't even just that it was a big action spectacle in the way they did. Now, that was unexpected because of how beautifully produced it was. But the vibe of the side cast, I mean, the most, I think, best way to describe the vibe I was getting was, like, when you have, like, fantasy anime with, like, a magic school training academy. Honestly, in a weird way, I was kind of getting Fire Emblem vibes, if I'm being honest. Like, just from the look and everything, the way the characters were interacting, I was like, man, this is, I don't know what I expected, and I don't mean to sound like this is an insult, but I was expecting more boringness to the environment. I was expecting, oh, this is going to be a political setting. Our Central 2 will be fantastic. There will be a handful of characters that I'm sure are fun, but in general, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, like, strict knights, there's going to be a lot of political bigwigs, and just, I expected a more simple show with a great building romance. And what I got from this episode is a great show with a great building romance, but insanely fun cast dynamics. I mean, we got some jealousy on the fly, we got people being like, oh, she's this apprentice, learning actually that she's actually a witch when things really start popping off. We start the episode with her giving a blessing that is like a cheat skill. Like, if this was an isekai, this would be like, I can't believe my witch waifu gave me a cheat skill that makes me invincible. That would probably be the title. Because besides psychological attacks and poison, our boy's pretty much invincible right now. But I think the best part is actually seeing them over the course of the episode. Initially, she's trying to leave for a few days. He says no, like, I'll come with you. And what ends up happening is at first it kind of feels like he's forcing himself into a situation, but it's nice because it allows for her to not be alone in this moment. And as she's trying to fly away after everything and the cat's out of the bag that she is indeed a witch, what ends up actually happening is he lets her go, because they have this like really sweet moment of like, hey, no matter what, I'm here for a year. No matter what happens, I will always come back and I will always outlive you, basically. And then she gets brought back on her dragon and it wasn't looking good. I was like, oh, okay, that's shocking that she got, but I'm sure she'll fly back on her dragon. And like, nope, the dragon took her back, and it was rather shocking to say the least. Because the thing about anime is once you've seen, like, you don't even have to see like 1,000 anime like me. Like, if you've seen a couple hundred anime series, it's very easy to start predicting where shows go. Like, as long as you've dabbled in a couple dozen of each type of anime, there's a formula to things. I get a lot of predictions right, not because I read source materials, but because once you have a pretty good backlog of references, you kind of understand how storytelling likes to go. Not that I'm perfect with predictions, but, you know, I got a decent track record, but I get plenty wrong too. This is a show, though, I don't know what episode 3 will look like. I thought episode 2 would be like, okay, she might try some shit on him to try to break the curse. There might be some political meetings from our boy side, and then there'd be some cute romance conversations, or just build up. And, we got a little bit of that, and the entire dynamic of the sidecast and this kingdom is completely different. And then they just casually introduce the idea that if she falls so in love, she could actually age herself seemingly. And in theory, age herself to death. Now, that might not go exactly according to plan, but that's seemingly what the end of the episode is implying. And that's actually really sweet, because I think for her, while it may sound weird to say, like, unless she can make this man immortal, there's no way that you build this true loving relationship and have her just continue to live thousands and thousands of years alone. It just, unless maybe they have a kid and the kid's, because here's the thing about it, it is a blessing if he has a kid with someone who can handle it, because the pregnancy would kill most people. If the kid becomes immortal, maybe I could see something like that happening. I don't know. But either way, fantastic. Like, this was, I'm gonna say, this was 3 times better than the first episode. And if you heard my praise with episode 1, that's saying a hell of a lot. But I actually think this is probably the biggest surprise of the season, because no one was talking about it before it aired. It was a pleasant surprise with how good the first episode was, but I doubt many people thought the second episode was going to look, function, and be this well produced. Thoughts down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can know if I would upload more, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Ishta, Mauve, Curso, and we also have Omar, so I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.